in what the actual facts were. My opinion then and my opinion now is that the election was not stolen by fraud.
It is testimony like that, which is drawing in millions of American viewers to these hearings, sometimes in prime time, as Amber was saying. That was former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr. It's still not clear, though, how many of the people watching will actually be swayed by what they're hearing, and that has implications for America's political landscape. John Fund is a columnist for the National Review. Molly Jong-Fast is a contributor to Atlantic Magazine. She writes that magazine's newsletter. Wait, what? Good morning to you both.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Molly Jong-Fast, before the hearings, you wrote that they could be a real game changer. Have they lived up to your expectations?
So I thought they were pretty amazing. I was really pleasantly surprised. I feel like the Mueller hearings were just a complete disaster and not for this century, right? And, because the world has changed so much since Watergate or even Iran-Contra. But I thought these hearings were done in a way that was very modern, that was short, that included lots of little snippets, and was sort of set up in a kind of more of this century manner. So I thought that they've done an extremely good job in a very difficult situation.
John Fund, is this a game changer, or is it a partisan production by the Democrats, as Republicans have said?
Well, let me stipulate that I did not vote for Donald Trump. I think his behavior on January 6th was beyond abominable, and I have no interest in having his governing style returned to Washington. However, let's be clear. What Molly wrote in the Atlantic Magazine is that this committee hearing's goal was to provide a narrative for what happened on that day. That's not what congressional committees are supposed to be about. What they were producing is a TV show, not the conclusions of a credible investigation. And despite the fact that the Mueller probe hearings were a disaster, as Molly says, they at least followed what a congressional hearing is supposed to be. I mean, we let terrorists, we let mafiosa, we let all kinds of despicable people present evidence in congressional hearings. There's cross-examination. There's discussion about the relevant responsibility of the government officials who were in charge of the Capitol security. There's all kinds of things that included a congressional hearing. This is not a congressional hearing. This is a TV show. And I think that the credibility of this hearing is diminished by that omission. Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is, there's the one thing that this hearing does not allow the American people to learn is that there is a deep disagreement between this committee that wants to charge Donald Trump with sedition and the Justice Department of the Biden administration, which does not mention Donald Trump in the sedition cases and has neither charged him nor named him as an unindicted co-conspirator. So the committee wants to find evidence of a crime, but the Justice Department is not interested in that.
Molly,
that is the fundamental contradiction.
I can hear you in the background, Molly. Go ahead.
I mean, first of all, I want to know what you think was a good committee hearing. I mean, are you saying Benghazi was a good committee hearing? I mean, give me a congressional committee hearing that you feel was not a TV show. That would be my first question.
The 9/11 hearings.
Right. But the 9/11 hearings was a completely different Republican Party. You could never have that Republican. I mean, right now you don't have a Republican Party like that. I mean, my question.
9/11 was caused by terrorists. It wasn't caused by one political party or another. It was caused by terrorists.
What do you think January 6th was caused by?
Do you
think people storming the country?
If you want to call the people on January 6th terrorists, that's your business, but that's not what a congressional hearing is about.
But I'm just saying, do you think that disrupting the counting of votes is?
Molly, you have not addressed any of my points.
At the risk of,
I will address your points after you address my points.
At the risk of debating what is or is not a television show, let's talk about. I mean, aside from how this looks, what about what you've learned, Molly? What stands out in terms of what you have heard so far?
The other thing that I would just say is we don't really know what the Biden Justice Department is going to do yet. I think it's a little early to make a conclusion, which is not to say that he's going to charge or he's not going to charge. We just don't know yet. I thought that there was a lot of information. I thought they were we are in this very charged partisan world right now where information is not information and people are very, I don't know the kind of hearts and minds you're going to change, but I do know that I thought there was some very compelling evidence. I thought Jared Kushner really, just in those few words, really kind of gave away the store. And so I think there was a lot of information there.
John, are you surprised that how many people close to the former president, in some ways it seems, have flipped and said that he was detached from reality, that he was taking advice from, his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, apparently inebriated? Are you surprised by that?
Donald Trump has surrounded himself over the course of his career with all kinds of marginal people who do not serve the American people well. I would simply point out, by the way, that, it has been 18 months since January 6th. And Attorney General Merrick Garland has basically had 42 lawyers looking into this sedition case. He is not going to charge Donald Trump. After 18 months, enough evidence could have been gathered. He has also at the same time he's refused to answer any questions about whether the FBI had informants or undercover agents who infiltrated the Trump supporters and encouraged them to storm the Capitol. That would be a relevant question for a committee to ask. They're not asking
really
that
believe
question.
that?
May I finish, please? That is a relevant question to ask. Now, in a normal fact-finding process, you have the other side get to ask questions. You have the other side get to raise points. They shouldn't be scared of the truth, either the fact that Donald Trump acted abominably that day or the fact that there are all kinds of unanswered questions about how the security was so bad at the Capitol. Now, one of the things that we do know this, Benny Thompson last night said the committee is not going to make a criminal referral. Not at all. So what is the point of this other than to have a TV show? If you're not going to have cross-examination, if you're not going to have witnesses being asked questions by people who disagree with them, if you're not going to have a normal congressional committee and you're not going to refer anyone for criminal prosecution, it is by definition a TV show.
Molly Jong-Fast, what is if the hearings don't change minds but also don't lead to that criminal prosecution or the charges that are there, what is the point of these hearings, do you think?
We've gone so far afield from a normal conversation here. I don't even know how to sort of make sense of this, but I would say we don't know, right? Benny Thompson said that. Then there were other members of the committee who said maybe they would. We don't know. I think the most important thing...
Hold on. Let her finish. Let her finish.
Interrupt me.
Let her finish.
Do this. I think that we should... for me, as someone who is quite interested in keeping democracy going, I would like as much information as possible. Look, ultimately, I don't know what the American people are going to care about, but no one else does either. Like, we don't know what will move the needle. I know for myself, as a person who likes to live in a democracy, the idea that there was a president of a major party who tried to overturn the election results is quite scary. And so I would like as much information as possible. I think there are a lot of people in this country who, even though America is very hyperpartisan, would like to know as much as possible. And I think that Liz Cheney is no Democrat. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that while she may be against Trump taking over, she is no Democrat. And certainly, she cares not at all what happens to the Democrats in the midterms. She just wants to get to the truth.
Is there the real possibility that people's minds could be changed, Molly, by this? Again, to your point just about how divided the country is, but also a major broadcaster and Fox not showing this, which would perhaps lead to the idea that people are already baked in, that there's confirmation bias, that you believe what you believe. Is there the possibility that minds could change because of what's revealed?
I don't want to get attacked here, but I would say there are two things that happened this weekend. And again, people have said Rupert Murdoch is on the fence about Trump and has been very sort of back and forth. But, this weekend there was an editorial in the Wall Street Journal and an editorial in the New York Post, both Murdoch papers, that said that Americans should move on. Fox aired the hearings on day 2. They aired the hearings on Fox. So, I do think, look, I don't know what's going to happen. And in my mind, I'm not convinced that the Republican Party moving on from Trump means a DeSantis or someone who could theoretically be a better candidate than Donald Trump, someone who's moved on. So as a Democrat, as a partisan, I'm very conflicted about the whole thing. But I'm telling you, we just don't know what's going to make people care. And that was true with Watergate. And that was true, that's been true throughout history. So I think they have to try. And I think that it's a valiant effort. And I think these are hearings. And look, it's not Benghazi. I mean, there is bipartisanship. And there's an agreement that what happened on January 6th is a terrible thing that should never happen again.
John Fund, is there anything that this committee could reveal that would change how Republicans might vote or might run in the upcoming elections, the midterms that are happening in November?
Look, more information is better than no information, and the committee has brought forth some very interesting video depositions. But let me reiterate, this is not a congressional hearing. This is a TV show. The American people right now are sitting on a situation in which the stock market has collapsed 23% since January 3rd. Gasoline prices are the highest they've been in 40 years. Inflation is the highest it's been in 40 years. Donald Trump's popularity at this point in his presidency was 42%. Joe Biden has slipped below 40%, which is 10 points below where Obama was. The country is in a meltdown on several fronts. Now, I'm perfectly happy to discuss January 6th, and I'm perfectly happy to have a factual documentary record made of how abominable Donald Trump's behavior was. But that's not where the American people are right now. It's been 18 months. The Justice Department has not indicted Donald Trump. It has not even named him as an unindicted co-conspirator. The committee is obsessed with this. There is a Trump-loathing obsession with this, which led to the disastrous Mueller hearings. In the end, the Mueller hearings tended to discredit Trump critics, even though they had some good points to make about Donald Trump's behavior. This committee, which is not fair, which is not bipartisan, which does not allow people to cross-examine, is a very interesting TV show. But let's not pretend it's anything else. When people watch a TV show, it doesn't change their mind. It means that they watch the TV show.
And so the belief that this is about preserving democracy in the United States, that this is about actually trying to find the answers to what happened on the 6th of January when people stormed the Capitol.
That's why you have a congressional committee process that has been violated. In a normal congressional committee, both sides get to appoint members. Nancy Pelosi did not allow the Republican leader to appoint the members he wanted. Both sides get to cross-examine. So a factual look at the events and the facts is fine. I support it. But 9/11 committee did that. This does not do that. Does anyone think that having a one-sided presentation of this is going to move people? No. They're worried about the fact that they're paying $6 for gas and the stock market has collapsed 23%.
Molly, we just have a minute or so left.
I think it's obvious how nervous this is making Republicans because all they can talk about is inflation. This is not about inflation. Inflation is about inflation. You want to talk about inflation? We can have hearings on inflation. This is about January 6th.
We're not having those either.
First of all, I could go and talk to you about the bills that Republicans voted against, about gas prices, but it's not even about that. The fact that Republicans can't even sit still for a minute. And the other thing is this indictment that it's a TV show. Donald Trump is a reality TV host. You guys should like this. This is what your party is all about.
I never voted for him, nor did I think a TV host should be president. So don't accuse me of that.
I'm just saying that you're getting very hot and heated. It's a TV show. It's a TV show. The host, Trump is a
Molly,
TV
do you believe there should be cross-examination on this hearing? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Of course there should be cross-examination. But you believe that Liz Cheney is a liberal. We've gotten so far afield from reality.
The way
Liz
that
Cheney,
you have a
big Democratic booster.
Molly, for 200 years, we've had congressional hearings in which the minority side gets to appoint the minority members. For 200 years.
Do you remember Benghazi? Were you
and this is not allowed in this committee.
For people who are
upset about Benghazi? Did Benghazi break your heart when they ruined Secretary Clinton?
For people who are watching this from outside, in many ways, this speaks to the stakes here, but also the divisions in the United States and how people are viewing or not viewing what is unfolding over the course of this hearing. We'll have to leave this there, but we will come back because this will continue, I'm sure. I'm glad to have you both here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Fund, columnist for the National Review. Molly Jong-Fast, contributor to The Atlantic magazine. They were talking about the ongoing hearings into the storming of the Capitol on the 6th of January, 2021.